I wrong for begging my daughter not to have any more children? I, 58 female, and my husband Rob, 61 male, have 2 kids. Erica, 35 female, and Mike, 30 male. Both kids are married, but Erica and her husband Steve, 38 male, live nearby to us, and this issue concerns them. They work full-time and have 2 kids. 5 male and 4 female. 5 years ago, my daughter asked my husband and I if we would be willing to become their full-time childcare so she could continue to work and afford their comfortable life. We agreed, but we didn't discuss much more than watching the baby and their expectations. I was a teacher and retired 2 years before I could take my pension, so my husband continued to work and we made a few sacrifices like vacations and adding to our savings, but we were able to make it work so I could take my full pension at 55 and my husband retired a year later. Our arrangement worked and we enjoyed having the kids, except by year 3. During the lockdown, they were both working from home. They expected us to keep the kids all day, and we wanted to split time each week since their preschool and daycare was closed. We settled on 2 days with them and 3 days with us, and my son-in-law complained about it pretty much every day. Things got better when the kids were able to go to school. Fast forward to year 4, we have a bit of a blow-up over kindergarten. My daughter did not want her 5-year-old to start school in the unknown, but I insisted that he needed to go because I needed the break. I also asked for their 4-year-old daughter to spend more time at preschool and daycare programs. Son-in-law complained about the cost, but I pushed anyway. They relented, and then this past spring, son-in-law pushed for us to take the kids for a week so that they could go on a vacation. We said that they had to take the kids, and he said they couldn't afford it. No one went on vacation. Maybe that was too much background, but I felt like the context is important for what I said. My daughter and I were casually having a conversation the other day, and she mentioned she had an OBGYN appointment and tests. I asked if everything was okay, and she said Steve and her were expecting for baby number 3. I asked her what her childcare plan was, and she looked at me like I was crazy and said, us. I said that it would have been nice if she told me this before trying for another baby. She said it is none of my business. I said it is if I'm providing 5 more years of babysitting. I then told her that we were not viable childcare options for a new baby and begged for her to reconsider. Her daughter is going off to kindergarten next year, and we will feel like we are getting our days back to some extent and refuse to start all over again with an infant. Erica said that we were making her choose between her dream of 3 kids and financial stability. I argued that she has 2 beautiful children and they were financially stable, and they shouldn't ruin that with another baby. I might be the asshole because Erica feels like we should have told her sooner. I feel like I am not because I never agreed to a lifetime of raising their kids.
Imagine your son is killed by his ex-girlfriend who is pregnant with their child and the government refuses to give you custody of that child. Andrew Bagby met Shirley Turner in 1999 during his last year at the Memorial University of Newfoundland, MUN, where he was in his last year of a medical degree and she was employed as a doctor. Shirley was 13 years his senior, divorced twice, and already had 2 children. Andrew was a kind-hearted person with a wide circle of friends who found it hard to say no. Shirley, on the other hand, left people uneasy as she always made poor taste jokes and inappropriate remarks. She popped up in Andrew's life and became obsessed with him. They dated during his last year at MUN and continued a long-distance relationship when Andrew started his residency in New York and she took a position in Iowa. However, over time, it seemed that Andrew was unhappy. He would complain to friends about Shirley and how obsessive she was. She would ring his phone 30 times a day where he would eventually stop picking up, which was unheard of as it was extremely unlike him to do so, leading his close friends to believe that he was at his wit's end with her. By the time that he moved to a new job in Pennsylvania, he finally broke it off with Shirley once and for all on November 3rd, 2001 over lunch at the Latrobe Airport. He put her on a plane back to Council Bluffs and then went home to carry on with his life, but little did he know how short that time would be. 2 days later at 5:30 in the morning, Shirley showed up to his apartment after driving 16 hours to see him. When he went to work a couple hours later, he told his supervisor about it. His supervisor was extremely wary and cautioned Andrew not to take this lightly. He warned him not to meet her in private under any circumstances, but Andrew insisted that he was overreacting and did it anyway. After work, he drove 20 minutes to a deserted car park of Keystone State Park where he had arranged to meet Shirley at 6 p.m. The next day, his body was found riddled with bullets. He had been shot 5 times, in the face, chest, twice in the buttocks, and once in the back of the head. The casings that were found on the ground beside him were tracked back to a weapon registered to Shirley Turner, and a witness had seen a 4-wheel drive similar to Shirley's parked next to Andrew's car that night as well. Shirley, however, told police that she was ill and in bed all day the day of the murder. It seemed like a pretty straightforward case, but before police could arrest her, she fled over the Canadian border and went back home to the city of St. John's in Newfoundland. This is when the nightmare for Andrew's parents would continue after losing their son. Kate and David Bagby were Andrew's parents, and they were shocked to find out that on December 12th, just a few hours after Shirley was arrested in Newfoundland, she was let out on bail, with conditions, but nonetheless, free to walk around after murdering their son. However, a few months later, another shocking revelation comes to light. While the U.S. is still trying to extradite her back to Pennsylvania for murder, Shirley announces that she's 4 months pregnant with Andrew's child. Kate and David Bagby weren't sure whether to believe it or not, but if it was true, this would mean that this would be the last of their ancestral line and the last of their DNA left on Earth. This child would mean that part of their son would live on, and after so much darkness, this child would be their light. They wanted to sue for custody immediately. Unfortunately, 5 months goes by and neither the extradition or the custody case had made any progress. There were many steps in the extradition process with Canada and lawyers bickering. In July 2002, Shirley gave birth to a healthy baby boy who was DNA tested and positively proved to be Andrew's child. The Bagbys agreed to an out-of-court settlement with Shirley regarding the access to the boy, who Shirley had named Zachary. They were allowed no more than 1 visit per week, and it had to be in a family court under supervision. Andrew's childhood friend, Kurt Quinn, decided to start a documentary called Dear Zachary that would be a letter to Zachary about the father that he would never meet and who his mother murdered. While he traveled the U.S. to film friends and family and record their memories of Andrew, the Bagbys were falling in love with their grandson. They had bonded with Zachary and were being extremely civil with Shirley by sending pictures, buying clothes, and other necessities as well. In such an insane situation where they're exchanging civilities and notes with their son's murderer, they were afraid that Shirley might take away their access to Zachary and force themselves to be cordial. However, things were eventually going to take many turns that no one would see coming. In November 2022, a year after Shirley Turner murdered her boyfriend Andrew Bagby and fled to Canada while pregnant with his child, the judge in Shirley's extradition finally threw out all queries raised by her lawyer and threw her in jail, ruling that there was enough evidence to warrant a trial. This is when the Bagbys, Andrew's parents, were appointed as Zachary's, Andrew's child, and their grandchild's main carers. However, there were 2 things that marred this victory. 1, Zachary had a hard time adjusting to the new routine and surroundings, and 2, the Bagbys were ordered to take 1 collect phone call a day and visit Shirley once a week with Zachary while she was in prison, which made it an excruciating 150-mile round-trip journey for them. Then they would have to sit and listen to Shirley complain about the prison and bring up Andrew in conversations, constantly reminding them of their son who she had murdered. The Bagbys were hopeful that Shirley would be extradited soon and this would all be over, but in January 2003, the legal system confounded their expectations and Justice Gail Welsh let Shirley out on bail. To their horror, they were forced to hand Zachary back to Shirley and again tiptoe around her in order to see their grandson. The new court order allowed them more access, 3 to 4 hours at a time for a few times a week and some sleepovers. However, they had to deal with Shirley all the time. They stated it was like being at war. On June 10, 2003, the Attorney General in Canada ordered that Shirley be surrendered to the U.S. Shirley appealed, and 6 weeks beforehand, on August 16th, the Bagbys spent the day with Zachary and Shirley at the children's pool. They drove Shirley and Zachary home where Zachary was already fast asleep upon arrival. As the Bagbys prepared to leave, Shirley did a strange thing. She woke Zachary up to say goodbye to Grandpa and Grandma. He began to cry and reached out for Kate when Shirley swept him away firmly and said, "You can't always be with your grandparents." This would unfortunately be the last time that the Bagbys saw Zachary alive. At 3 a.m. on August 28th, Shirley drove to the Foxtrot Marina, and with Zachary strapped to her stomach with a sweater, she jumped off the main wharf and into the Atlantic Ocean. When Kate and David Bagby were told by police that the bodies of Shirley and Zachary were found on the beach, they began to scream and didn't stop for several hours. In the mortuary, they were confronted with Zachary's little body covered by a white sheet. There were so many unanswered questions. David Bagby blamed himself, saying that he should have killed Shirley when he had the chance. He said he would have gladly spent life in prison knowing that his wife and Zachary were happy and he would still receive updates and pictures of them while serving a sentence. The documentary Dear Zachary took the nation by storm when it was released. David Bagby is fighting for Canadian laws to change when pertaining to bail for murderers, and Kate has become a mentor, working with disadvantaged children. However, the real joy, has left both of their lives forever.
I had a squatter in my house for 4 months and I didn't know. And I'm going to tell the story. So I bought my first house when I was like 26. I moved in with my 2 small children and I was working 80, 90 hours a week, an hour away from home. We were also spending 2-3 nights a week at my parents' house because I needed help with the kids. My kids were little. So if I was gone at 4 o'clock in the morning, chances are I was gone till 8, 9 o'clock at night. I was gone all the time. So we moved in. I bought the house in February, moved into March. In September, I went out with my mom and my sister, and I drank too much. I stayed at my mom's house. So I came home 9 o'clock in the morning. I was going to take a nap. So I get home, I get undressed, I get in bed. I'm laying in bed and I hear a noise. And I was like, that must be a mouse. I live in an old farmhouse. So I'm laying there and I hear it again. I'm like, Jesus, that's a big ass mouse. I lean over the side of my bed. I see blue jeans and black socks sticking out from underneath my bed. I jump out of bed. I grab my phone, my keys. I run out my 3 back doors. I get in my car. I'm on the phone with 911 and I'm like, there's someone in my house. There's someone in my house. They're like, okay, ma'am, where are you going? I said, I'm going to the VFW. The VFW is across the street. I pull in the VFW parking lot. I'm sitting in the VFW parking lot, half naked, in my car, on the phone with the cops, and I see the guy that I hired to mow my lawn come walking out the front door. Mind you, I have 3 back doors that I just ran out of. He walks out the front door like he owns the place, puts his shoes on, starts walking down the street. So I'm on the phone. I'm like, I know who it is. I know who it is. They're like, okay, ma'am, calm down. We're sending the police. So one police officer comes to get me. The other police officer goes to find him. As the cop comes in, he's like opening my windows and doors. And he's like, have you noticed anything strange? And whatever, we're walking around, we find a plate with toast on it. So he like made himself toast. So we are looking. So then the other cop calls and he's like, look around the house and see if you see anything else. So my old pain pills were gone. My grandfather's coin collection was gone. Like other things were gone. The kid admitted to the cop to have been living in my house for 4 months. So he was in my bed, sleeping in my bed, assuming that I was gone for the rest of the day. When he heard me come in, he jumped out of my bed and thought he could hide there until I was gone. So he admitted to have been living in my house for 4 months. He was breaking in when I was gone, and he was using my shower, playing my kids' PlayStation, eating my food, like drinking out my milk. I was disgusted. So the cops pick him up, take him home, whatever. When they find him, they find out that he's homeless. When they find him, they take his lawnmower, and in his lawnmower, they found like my underwear, our friend's sister's underwear. Like he was doing this to multiple people. And then it was my brother's friend. There's so much more to the story, but that's the main part of the story, and it was crazy. Okay, part 2. So the guy was a friend of my brother's when they were in high school, and my brother at the time was deployed because he's in the military, and his friends were like, you have to tell him what happened, you have to tell him what happened. I'm like, I'm not telling him when he's toting a gun over there that his friend was friggin' sleeping in my bed. So when he came home from the military, he kept asking, what's going on with my hair? He kept asking where he was, and so his best friend Chris was like, you have to tell him what he did. So then I was like, Ben. So I called my brother aside and I was like, hey, and I told him what happened, and that was a whole nother thing. But then he went to jail, and like 6 months later, the police called me, and I know they wanted me to say that I thought he was going to hurt me, but I didn't think he was going to hurt me. Once I figured, like, I was scared at first, then I was disgusted. Like, he was sleeping in my bed. Anyway, they called me because they wanted him to stay in jail longer, and they wanted me to say that I thought he was going to hurt me. I don't think he was going to hurt me. Once I knew who it was, I think he was just homeless and pathetic, clearly, because he could have just asked, and any of us would have helped him. But so he went to jail. He got out of jail. I didn't see him for years. We assumed like he like disappeared. Like 2 years later, we were at a bar, and I'm at the bar with my dad and my cousins, and he comes walking out of the kitchen, and he sees us, and he goes, and he whipped around, and my dad just like grabs me, and he's like, you're okay, and he's like, let's go. So we start getting everybody out. My cousins are like, where are we going? Why are we leaving? Where are we going? Where are we going? And we made it like a mile down the street. And then my dad was like told him what happened, and all of the guys wanted to go back, but he was gone by that point. But yeah, so he's out of jail now. My brother didn't kill him. I don't know, I haven't seen him in years, so I don't know what he's doing. But it was sad too. Also, right before this all happened, his phone got shut off, and my mom gave him $50 extra to turn his phone back on. So like he could have asked us for help instead of just being creepy and living with me for 4 months.
So this actually happened to me and my mom. So she's my witness. And I know people think when I tell this story, it's like this girl is chasing, she reaching. Not. Okay. So we had a pastoral banquet, our pastoral anniversary banquet. And so it was on a Sunday, last day of the banquet. And we got the chairs from no other place than a funeral home. So we returned the chairs, of course, back to the funeral home. But my mom called a lady like, hey, we're getting ready to bring the chairs. And so the lady was like, just take the chairs, drive around to the back, and put them on the by the door on the back, because no one is there, because we're at a funeral. Remember that part, okay? Cool. So when me and my mom go drop the chairs off, we just unloading the chairs because we're not knocking on the door or nothing, because she said there's nobody there. Okay, great. We unloading the chairs and everything. And then I said, Ma, I think I seen that curtain move like that. I guess she didn't hear me because she kept unloading everything and, it was just going on. And then after that, somebody opened the door. This big brown-skinned, bald-head guy opened the door, heavy set. And my mom was like, oh, you scared me. That man said, oh, I was just sleeping. And then he goes to say, it's not the dead you should be afraid of. It's the ones that are alive that will kill you. Anyways, so we continue on, My mama, she go ahead, boom, unload the chairs, whatever. And the man proceeds to get the chairs from us and take them inside. But here's the thing. Whole time the man was unloading the chairs, he never got the chairs off the truck. He only put the chairs inside of the funeral home. So he never like stepped out of the funeral home itself. But you know, we painted no mind, whatever. So we get all the chairs unloaded. That man told us, now y'all have a blessed day now. We get in the car, Mom probably got 30 seconds down the road and had to pull over at a gas station because she literally was scared shitless. Literally had to go take a shit because she was scared shitless. So after that, we tell our encounterment to a family member, and my aunt, she's very nosy, very nosy. So she not called up to the place. She goes up to the place and was like, oh, you know, I just came to let you know that my sister dropped the chairs out. And the lady said, yeah, we got her from off the back porch. Like, no, you know, the man helper put him on the inside. The lady said, what man? She like, you know, the man that was here with the suit on. This man had on a suit and his tie was untied. He had on a suit. Then my aunt looked over to a picture and it was the man on the picture. The dead man helped us put the chairs inside the funeral home. So we thought. We don't even know who this man is. And see, we've used this funeral home before because it's like a community funeral home or whatever. I've never seen that man ever before until that day. And obviously, I've never seen him afterwards for obvious reasons.
Yesterday, I got followed to my car and almost attacked by a old man. So get ready with me for my boyfriend's baseball game while I tell you how he literally saved my life yesterday. I picked my boyfriend up from the field and we go get lunch in Coconut Grove, which if you know Coconut Grove, it's not an unsafe place in Miami. I'm a very paranoid person. I'd like to say I'm very self-aware, and so is my boyfriend, especially when he's with me. He's like very, very just like noticing everything. Him being like that and just always taking care of me and knowing what's going on has definitely resulted in me just turning my brain off at certain points when I'm with him and like looking at my phone when I shouldn't be, or like just following his lead. Afterwards, we were talking about this incident and he was like, I don't know if you realized, but every single time you like walk in somewhere, I take a step behind you and watch you walk in front of me, and then I turn around to see if anyone looks at you. It was like literally I caught these two creepy guys looking at you, and every time I look at people, they like look around like as if they're not doing anything, and I'm like, okay, you're just crazy, you know, paranoid, whatever. I swear stuff like this doesn't really happen when I'm by myself, other than the fact that the workout set I was wearing yesterday, I literally like got out of my car and got honked at twice when I was walking around in Miami. We finished eating our lunch and we're headed back to the car, and I'm quickly trying to pull up a smoothie place on my phone that we can walk to instead of going to the car. I'm not really paying attention, but I hear my boyfriend start mumbling like, what's going on with this guy? Like, what is he doing? And I'm just thinking he's like overreacting because he's always very protective of me. I'm not thinking anything of it. And we walk and he's like, dude, what is this guy doing? And he starts tugging on me, like tugging on my arm. And I'm still like on my phone trying to find this smoothie place. And I look up and I see like an probably 80-year-old old man. So I look back down and I'm like, dude, what? And he was literally in like a button up, you know, like he looked like your average old man. I start like hearing my boyfriend be like, babe, come on. And he's like pulling me. He's like, get off your phone, come on. And I was like, chill. I'm trying to find the smoothie place. He starts dragging me to the car. At this point, I like actually get off my phone because I'm like, what the fuck? My boyfriend is now reacting to the point where I'm like, what the fuck's going on? So I look up, I see, I kid you not, this old man charging at me with his eyebrows like this, staring at me. I'm like sprinting, freaking out now. My boyfriend's grabbing me, screaming at me to get in the car while this man is still following us to the car. I'm like scrummaging for my keys. It was the scariest thing ever. When I tell you the way this guy looked was as if I like had killed, he wanted to kill me for it. Like I had never seen this guy in my life and he literally wanted to kill me. It was weird because I had no prior interaction with him and he didn't seem like a crazy person. My boyfriend stays standing there while I get in the car and lock the doors. Mind you, this guy is maybe like not even a yard away from me. Like he's really close to me. Like I'm hopping in this car and locking the doors before he has a chance to grab me. My boyfriend finally runs away once I'm in the car and I'm safe. And he gets in the car, I lock the door, I pull out. This guy is still charging towards the car. I finally pull out, and then he just turns around and walks the other way. Like a fucking robot. It was so scary. So on the way back, I'm asking my boyfriend, I'm like, what the hell triggered that? Like, how did that happen? And he was like, I saw him eating there alone, and I saw him look at you and get up. And my first reaction was, oh, he's probably just getting up to go to the bathroom, do something. He kept walking, which was weird, and I didn't really know what was going on. And then I saw the way he was looking at you, and that's when I freaked out and started to panic. It's really scary because I don't know what I would have done if my boyfriend wasn't there. I probably would have seen the guy earlier, but I would have freaked out way more because I wouldn't have known what to do in this situation. I really don't know what happened. I don't know what was wrong with him, but yeah, that is like your sign to just be careful because it can happen when you're not expecting it and leaving a nice restaurant. What I was thinking is like he could not have been in his right mind because even if he was like, I don't know, like what he could have been wanting from me, but I was with my boyfriend holding his hand. Like, I don't know what he thought would happen. I don't know what triggered his reaction. I honestly thought when I like jumped in my car and quickly like slammed the door shut and locked it, that he was gonna like start banging on the window or like pulling the door. Like, that's how scary he looked. That is the story of how I almost got attacked in Miami. In broad daylight at like 3 p.m. by like an 85-year-old grandpa. What?
A girl unfollowed me and Evan and we noticed it. Yesterday we were invited somewhere and Mitch ended up boxing our manager, like as jokes, you know, like they started boxing and somebody behind us commented, oh, her weave. They were making jokes like, don't let her weave fall off or something. And I heard it and I was like, that's kind of weird. So I ignored it. Like 2 minutes passed, they were still boxing and the girl, she got her own extension. This shit pisses me off. Like, this is literally high school stuff. She got her own extension and she threw it at Mitchell to make it seem like it was her extension. So then everybody was laughing and Mitchell was so embarrassed, guys. I feel so, like, I think I'm mad because I could tell how, like, embarrassed Mitchell was. Like, and there's a video of it too, like, I'm, like, mad for Mitchell because that shit was so annoying. And today she posted a video with Benji. And we were like, okay, whatever. She posted a video with Benji and wait, let me calm down. And it would be like, I guess she was joking and shit. And it would be like funny if we were all friends, like we were all buddy, like we all made jokes and shit. We did not talk to her at all that night. Me, Mitch, our friend group did not talk to her at all that night. So for her to be, so that pissed me off. And watching the video back, like I wish I could show you guys the video, but watching that video back, like she was literally like this and she threw the extension. And then after the fact that everybody was laughing and shit, she got the extension and she started dancing with it, like pretending it was Mitch's extension. Basically, she posted a video with Benji and Mary was in the video, but she didn't mention Mary. Like it was just taking Benji on the thing. Mary was in like half the video. So I commented, what about Mary? And she deleted the comment and somebody else commented, and Mary? Somebody replied, Mary's always including herself in everything. She liked the comment, guys. She liked the comment where Mary's always including herself in stuff. And I think that pissed me off even more. Like, whoa, that's never happened to me. I think it's just the fact that I watched her for so long and then like seeing how she acts, it's not that serious. Video back, like that should piss me off so bad.
Time that a man offered me a salary to be his girlfriend. So it was the mid-2000s and I had just broken up from a fairly serious boyfriend. I was out at a club that we used to refer to as a dry cleaners because it's where you went to pick up your suit. This guy who was trying to chat me up asked me what I was doing on Sunday and I told him I was going to church. He laughed and he's like, no, really, what are you doing Sunday night? And I was like, no, really, I'm going to church. He kept badgering me for a date and eventually I said, look, I'll tell you what, you come to church and I'll come to dinner. I didn't give him my number, I didn't give him my name, I just told him the name of the church and said, hey, if you're interested, be there. Sunday comes around and I get to church and there he is with 24 long stem red roses and a brand new Jaguar. I'd like to say I hesitated for a minute. Church Jaguar, church Jaguar. Let's be real. I got in the Jaguar. So we go to dinner and the red flags are immediately flying. He's going all on about how rich he is and how he was only able to get a reservation at this restaurant because he knows the owner. Wasn't even busy, so I was like, yeah, whatever. He made a big fuss about how wealthy he is, so I thought, all right, I'm ordering lobster, I'm ordering caviar, I'm ordering Bollinger. I got a dessert that was covered in gold and caught on fire. He interviews me for about half an hour and the questions are atrocious. What do I weigh? When was my first boyfriend? How many partners have I had? How much money does my family make? I don't mind telling you, I made a lot of my answers up. It is clearly none of his business. So I'm on to my second lobster, and he goes, all right, this is how it's going to be. I'm at a stage where I'm ready to get married, and you seem like the kind of girl I could be married to. I'm like, really? Tell me more. So he goes, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to give you a salary each week for your personal maintenance and upkeep. Nails, hair, tanning, waxing, whatever. I'll also pay for a personal trainer because, you know, you're a pretty girl, but you could stand to lose a few pounds. You can continue working if you want. You won't need to. When we go shopping, this is how it's going to work. I'll pick, say, 3 handbags, and you can pick the one you want out of that. He goes, in the initial stages, you're a nice girl, so you're probably not going to want to sleep with me, so I'll just have a second girlfriend. I'm going, right. At this point, I've already decided that he's a terrible misogynist, but I let him keep going because I'm just curious to see what else he'll offer. I decide to test the boundaries a little bit, so I go, well, what about superannuation? He's like, ooh, businesslike. I like that. So he proceeds to tell me how he sees this whole thing rolling out. We'll get engaged, I can move into one of his flats, I can drive his Bentley, we'll have a prenup, $1 million per kid. This guy thinks he is killing this negotiation. It hasn't vaguely occurred to him that I might not be for sale. He's got this fantasy in his head of this nice girl he's going to marry and has no idea that I would never consider him. Before you think I was too harsh, aside from the whole trying to purchase me issue, I'd asked him what he thought about his previous girlfriends. Always very telling. Let's just say that language is not appropriate for TikTok. So at the end of the night, he tells me his phone number, expecting me to memorize it and call him. The audacity never fails to astound me.
If you're wondering why a 24-year-old has a nightlight, you would too if you had a Robert. One of the scariest, most tormented things that happened to me was getting sleep paralysis for 1 month straight. I'm not even shitting you. I got it for the whole month of February. But I'm gonna tell you about night 28 because that sends chills all the way down to my marrow. I've had sleep paralysis all my life, but it's the same figure. So much so that it has a name. It's named Robert. I don't know how to explain that it feels like it's male. I just know that I don't feel safe around it. Robert never moves. He just stands in the corner of my room where the hinges of my door is and just watches me. I don't know, but he just stands there. On night 28, Robert moved, and he moved to the side of my bed and hovered over me like this, but he moved statically. So the best I can describe it is, you know, stop motion film, how their movements aren't fluid. He just buffered closer and closer to the edge of my bed. And then I heard Robert's voice for the first time, and I've watched enough horror movies to know that Robert was speaking demon. It wasn't gibberish because there was too much pronunciation, so I would say like a long lost language sounds more suitable. But the point is I understood it, and I'm bilingual, but in English and Korean, not Robert's tongue. And Robert was saying, I'm your father, we need to go. I'm your father, we need to go. I'm your father. Just repeating that. The more Robert repeated it, the more it started sounding like my dad's voice. And then at that point, I started praying to every god, hoping that one was still clocked in. But I don't think Robert liked that very much. I think it triggered him because he got physical with me. He grabbed my arm and laid on top of me and was screaming at this point. Okay, this part I really don't know how to explain it, except to say, like, while Robert was obstructing my airway on top of me, he was also crawling all over my walls. It sounds crazy, but you just had to be there. And then his zoomies came to an end, but he stopped right above my head. So imagine me laying down and Robert right above my head, but his body is on the wall. I fucked up. And then he screamed, you're coming with me. But as soon as he said that, I woke up to my dad violently shaking me. But you know, I was a little sus because Robert was saying that he wasn't my dad or whatnot. And so I was looking at my dad like, who are you? What are you? But then my dad did something that he never has done before and called me by my middle name, Jen. And I was like, that's weird, but it must be you. And then he proceeded to tell me that he had a nightmare in which something was trying to take me away from him. He was holding me like this, you know, on for dear life, but something was like trying to yeet me away. He came into my room to check up on me, and apparently I had my eyes closed, but I was crying so much that the sides of my pillows were wet, and I was mumbling appa, 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 which is dad in Korean. Next day, my dad and we did a little recap, but tell me why he described Robert to a T. And I've never described Robert to my dad. Anyways, my dad rearranged my whole room. He told my mom, and she came in and prayed for an awfully long time. We got a Bible to put on my nightstand, and we also got a nightlight. Robert still visits me, but he resides in that corner of my room where he just kind of stands and stares. It's very perverted of him.